My name is Amina Oyagbala. I'm the founder and chairperson of Wiscar. I'm also the CEO of AKMS Consulting and the senior partner in Oyagbala Chambers. But what inspired me to found Wiscar was essentially my own career journey and the challenges and obstacles that I came across at a particular point in my career. When I was growing up, my parents, did not differentiate between men and women. They brought us all up as their children in a very loving and nurturing fashion. So I grew up without having a gender lens at all. I grew up as a confident child, as an empowered and enabled individual, as a person and as a human being. And the first time I started understanding and seeing the difference between men and women really was when I entered, the world of work. And I just felt, when I went into the workplace that, my work would speak for me, and that if I contributed in the workplace, that would enable my progression, and that I would be justly rewarded, on merit for that contribution.
Gender equality is rooted in the acceptance of a universal fact that every human being on earth is exactly that, a human being, with all the God-given rights that come with that. They say we are created in God's image, men and women, and when we are small, children, that we are all human beings. And if I'm a human being, I have certain rights. Rights to freedom, rights to food, rights to education, rights to health, rights to a good life, or to do my best to live a good life. And the right to not have the establishment or anybody set themselves up to deny me of my rights.
If I have good character, if I have competence, and if I have capacity, my gender is irrelevant. That is what should define any situation or any place where I find myself. It should be my character, my competence, and my capacity, not whether I'm a woman or not.
It's being said that you don't clap with one hand. If you wanted to have results and you want the clap to resound, you can't clap with one hand, you need both hands. So until we have a situation where women are contributing equally, or even in some cases more than the men, I think what we are losing out on is we're losing out on a key part of the resources that are available to man, contributing and driving economies forward, driving nations forward. I also think that when we talk about gender equality, it's important that we understand that that's not to say that women need to have special opportunities. They should just be given opportunities. And I also believe that with women, we bring a different set of skills to the table. So combining the skills that men bring with the softer skills perhaps that women bring, we've over time studied that when women are part of the equation, the results are a lot better.
I think that there should be equality of opportunity. In short, you should never say, oh, she's a woman, therefore she should not go to school, or she should not be allowed to compete for anything, or that she's in the workplace and because she's a woman, she's shut out of the various opportunities that are there.
Both men and women have different skills and sometimes even have the same skills. Why shouldn't you bring all that capacity onto the table to build, to create, and to empower society? Why does it have to be one or the other?
Gender equality fuels diversity. Diversity fuels innovation. Innovation is what we need to grow the economy. Innovation is what we need to grow businesses. Innovation is what we need to grow careers. So it's important that we, as much as possible, ensure that there is diversity across the table when decisions are being made, ensure that there is diversity across the table when resources are being allocated, and indeed when ideas and thinking is done. Creativity is fueled by diversity, and gender equality helps to bring inclusion to the table.
The real challenge for me came when I got married and started having children. And that was where I really started struggling. I started struggling with my childcare responsibilities, with the school runs, with my children falling ill, and all of those issues. But for the mentorship I received, even though it was informal, from my very, very strong and loving support network, which included my husband, my parents, my siblings, my sisters, and my brothers, and the advice that they gave me and the guidance that they gave me, they were able to bring some perspective to me, which I wasn't seeing at the time because I was drowning with the pressure. And that was mid-career. I really had a good job. I was a manager in banking at the time. I had a very interesting portfolio, and I really was on the trajectory, for the top. So, after I moved on and I subsequently, several years later, became an executive, I realized, through the various people that I also had supported along the way, informally, that really and truly I wasn't aware of any structured mentoring program that existed, and that it was something that was really needed for career women. And the fact that I went through what I went through and almost exited, and of course, when I became an executive, I realized that, most of the time, I'm the lone person, the only senior management person in the room, in the midst of men. I could understand why many women just made the decision to say, you know what, I can't cope with this. I'd rather step out, give myself flexibility, start my own business, and be able to, pay the necessary attention that I need to for my family and my children, and perhaps in the future, sometime in the future, come back into corporate life.
Our mentorship is vital, and it comes in various shapes. You've got the informal mentoring, which women have done all of their lives, especially as mothers. As a mother, you're constantly mentoring, and then it takes on a more formal face or perspective. And as women, it's important that we lend our voice and experience in grooming and making sure that the women coming behind us, our daughters and sisters and young friends, understand the importance of making informed decisions, whatever they do.
Mentoring is such a huge phenomenon, and I think to a large extent often undervalued. Oftentimes the challenge you get is you don't want anyone sort of giving you their blueprint, but what a mentor does is side by side taking you through the insights, giving you an opportunity to share or learn from their own experiences, such that you can shape your perspective on any issues.
One of the hidden inequalities in the workplace generally is the mentorship system, unofficial mentorship system, where often men are there mentoring younger men and therefore enabling them to get ahead. Often this is not possible for women, for young up-and-coming women, because there aren't as many women up there, and perhaps women don't have quite that setup by which they mentor each other so as to climb up the corporate ladder.
When you come into a workplace, it's not easy for you to know what to do, get things right, make the right decisions, make the right choices. It's not easy for anyone. And what happens is, for very many young men, when they come in, an older man will look at them and say, this young guy is hardworking, this young man is smart, let me take him under my wing, show him the ropes, guide him, and stuff like that. It doesn't happen with women. Why doesn't it happen with women? Because most of the time, the people in leadership who are in the position to mentor you are men. And they tend to want to mentor people who are like them, people they can relate to. When I was a young man, I could have benefited from this sort of advice. They don't know what it's like to be a young woman. That's the first thing. Two, if they decide to take a young woman under their wing, people might cast aspersions on them that, is she your girlfriend? Their wives might not like it, that, what's going on? Because when you mentor somebody, you do get a deeper relationship. So there are many reasons why men don't take young women as their mentees.
Wiscar's work is to correct that shortfall.
I had these ideas all along, but I hadn't sort of, conceived them in a structured fashion in my mind until I attended a leadership program called the Aliwa Leadership Initiative in West Africa, which is affiliated to the Aspen Institute. And when I embarked on that program, they challenged me. And one of the outputs from that program was for each leader to come up with a project, that would impact the society positively and that would be significant. And so in trying to think of, what should I do? What am I passionate about? what do I have the experience, to contribute meaningfully to, and what are my strengths? I realized that, mentorship, there was a gap and there was a need in terms of leadership, mentorship, counseling and guidance for mid-career, entry to mid-career career women, to provide them with the structure, the framework, and to help to build their confidence and build their capability and arm them with the tools, the competencies, and the skills that they need for them to become successful and for them to stay in the workplace so that they can transit and pivot into leadership.
Women in Successful Careers is a not-for-profit organization, a for-impact organization focused on developing the next generation of women for leadership. And we do this through a structured approach of mentorship. Over the last 13 years, we've had varying degrees of impact. We're proud to say that in the last 13 years, we have graduated over 500 alumni from our various Win with Wiscar mentoring programs. Our Wiscar mentoring programs are structured. We've got the Win 1, Win 2, and the Win 3 programs. Our programs are designed for women who are at entry level through mid-level to senior management positions looking to really break the glass ceiling. And we make bold to say that over the last 13 years, we have really made an impact in the landscape, both of the corporates, in the corporate landscape, but also even in the public service sector.
I do believe that we were probably the first to start the mentorship program for women at the level that we started it. It was a real X factor, I feel. It still is a real X factor for Wiscar. The quality of the mentorship is incredible. If you look at the caliber of women that are mentoring, they're women who are very accomplished in their own rights. There are many women who have gone through tough journeys, but they've made it to the other side. And these are women who feel that they want to stretch out a hand and they want to help another woman up. Make the journey shorter and faster for you. That's what the mentorship does, the mentorship program does.
My mentoring experience was rewarding and fulfilling. And the gender norms for me, I think they're very real. And it's important to be able to leverage on the experiences and support of the women leaders that have been fortunate enough to be my mentors.
Well, my mentoring experience was very enlightening. It was actually the first formal mentoring relationship that ever formed. So it was a new space for me and I learned a lot.
Prior to being mentored, I had been part of, several trainings. But when I was mentored, I just felt like, oh wow, this is so different.
It's a one-on-one mentoring program, and it's got a very, very holistic approach. And what it does really is you sort of literally handhold women and support them and guide them about how to make very informed decisions about every aspect of their lives, from the personal aspect to career, that career growth.
I was able to access a lot of women, leaders, role models that I ordinarily wouldn't have had access to, and that really changed my perspective about what I can do and what I cannot do.
We run an annual conference where we have had very, very important women of influence who are leaders.
We identify a woman who has achieved and attained success by dint of hard work and merit. So values are very important to us. Ethics are very important to us as well. And, we give that, successful woman the stage to be able to share her story. And the objective really is for her to be able to inspire other women and girls, who can then see themselves in that role model.
We had Sirleaf Johnson, who was the past president of Liberia.
She was physically there. And, a lot of the young women, even some students who came, had the opportunity to speak with her, had the opportunity to touch her, had the opportunity to feel her. All the other women, that we've had who, have accepted our award, Dr. Mobola Johnson, Rear Admiral Hutonu, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, Mrs. Ayo Obey.
We've had our wonderful Deputy Secretary General at the UN, also as a speaker. We had Dr. Okonjo-Iweala just last December, and now she's the DG of the WTO. So we've had people like that come and we've generated conversations around how do we deal with this issue of gender equality, and a lot of what has been done, a lot of what the outcomes have been from a lot of our advocacy programs have been fed into policymakers' actions.
Single-handedly having a platform like Wiscar means that we have the opportunity to be with women we have aspired to become when we didn't have the access to them, seeing them sort of, they're larger than life on screen in their day-to-day activities. But when we're with Wiscar, that safe space enables us learn, share, and just generally grow under their very careful guidance.
The lessons that you will learn will shorten your learning curve and expose you to a far greater level of opportunity because of the skills that you would have acquired, because of the knowledge that you would have acquired.
It's not just a training program. You can go for training. I've been for all kinds of training programs in the course of my career, in some of the best global institutions, including Harvard and London Business School and INSEAD, IMD. I've been to all of them, and they have their place, and they provide certain kinds of enablement and knowledge which you need. But the Wiscar Mentoring Program has taken the time that those of us on the advisory board who are all successful women and successful men have sat down and taken time to curate a program that addresses not just core functional competencies that you need, but curate a program that will build the personal effectiveness of our mentees, the interpersonal effectiveness of our mentees, and the organizational effectiveness of our mentees. And we have sat down to think about some of the challenges and obstacles that women face in the workplace and the things that actually impede their development, and try to ensure that we incorporate that into the Wiscar Mentoring Framework curriculum.
So before I started the program, I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure of the path. But the mentoring experience has helped me to create a specific and strategic roadmap to, eating my career growth.
I'm a stream 5, so that means it was like years ago, but I was at a stage where I needed to make certain decisions about my personal life, my career, my education, and it helped me find that path. And I think a lot of times you find relationships that want you to toe the same line, but the experience taught me that I need to be able to create my own path and understand where I'm going to. So that experience helped me choose where I am today and how to get there.
For me, since I joined the Wiscar Wintry program, a lot has changed for me. I've been able to learn how to be more strategic with my career. It's also helped me to focus on what's important, to be more goal-oriented, and to be more disciplined. So for me, it's been a way of helping me focus on where I want to be in my career 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that for me has been a very useful experience.
One of the things that creates an opportunity for people to be successful is several things. One, training and development. You need to have certain competencies and skills, not just functional competencies, but also business competencies. The other thing you must have is that you must have what I would call leadership attributes and behaviors beyond your qualification in an area, beyond your experience which you have gathered over time in the course of your career journey. And the third thing you must have are the soft skills, which are very, very difficult for many people to acquire, because as you move up in leadership, you move through different passages, at different levels. First as a manager, then as a senior manager, then as a general manager, then as an executive, on the board. And as you make those transitions and those passages, there are certain skill sets that you must acquire.
The mentoring experience with Wiscar at the time I did, which was last year, during the COVID-19 pandemic, and when I had just been promoted, was quite insightful as it helped me to navigate new challenges presented at that time. I had various virtual brainstorming sessions with my mentor, also with the various seminars, including personal effectiveness and networking. My perspective on growth, leadership, and gender advocacy definitely was strengthened. I realized that organizations and society and emotional dynamics do play an important role in career growth for a woman.
So our programs at Wiscar are holistic. It's holistic because it builds not just capacity, but there's also that element of purposeful matching where women get to, be matched with other women who have gone before them and help to make that journey, that lead time in terms of career development, shorter. So the mentor-mentee matching is a very unique piece of the Wiscar mentoring program. Secondly, the structured element, which is where the mentee and the mentor go in a three-phased process. They start defining together what are the goals the mentee would like to achieve. And then they go to the second phase where they initiate actions, what the mentee needs to do. And then the third phase where they then agree on what the next steps would be. So it's a structured piece of work, and there are tools and resources for the mentee and the mentor to ensure that this structure is deliberately followed through. So the most distinguishing aspect of the Win with Wiscar program is really in its exact, as much as possible, fitness of the mentee and the mentor match. At the same time, also the structure that both mentee and mentor have been enabled to follow.
There's that old saying, of course, about example being better than precept. Precept, of course, is teaching. But example is showing how things are to be done. Now, the important thing about the Wiscar mentoring program is that it contains a lot of both, a lot of teaching, not just of the hard skills, but also of the soft skills, which are very important. But in addition, there are many opportunities given for up-and-coming women to see what those who went before them did in order to get to where they were.
So Wiscar has continuously played that role. And, they gave me further confidence to believe that, look, you can go global, right? And so I went ahead, looked at the global stage. I've been able to become part of an international fellowship, Women Leaders for the World, which was also, it's not a mentoring program. It was a leadership training, but then we've been able to forge a partnership with them and Wiscar. And I think all of those experiences combined, you get to a point where you have to give back, right? And it's been my pleasure serving as a Wiscar mentor for the past 2 years after being mentored.
The fact that I started out as a mentee, now alumni, but now sitting or getting the privilege of sitting very closely with these women who inspired me back then. So even though I am no longer a mentee, but that close proximity gives me an opportunity to connect at another level.
When you ask for examples of role models, male role models and female role models in Nigeria, you hear the same names, maybe the same 5 names. I mean, when Wiscar started, it would be maybe 5 names. Maybe now it's expanded to 15 names. People will keep on recycling the same names. And meanwhile, we have thousands of women in management and leadership positions doing very important work. So what has Wiscar done to transform it? Basically, it's made them visible.
Thinking back over 10 years now, there are some of our Wiscar mentees that when they joined Wiscar, they didn't have the confidence to take on their next opportunity. They were supported to dream and to cast their career aspirations. Today, some of them are in corporate Nigeria as CEOs. And it just gives me great delight when I come in contact with them at the Wiscar events. So I think Wiscar has supported the growth of, female executives across corporate Nigeria. And I think that's really, really very phenomenal.
We also know that from a lot of our activities, companies that were not thinking mentorship before or thinking mentoring have now set up mentorship programs within their corporate structures.
I see a future where every young girl understands that there are no limitations. I see a future where the men fully embrace the idea of, their wives, their partners, their spouses contributing. I see a future where men contribute in the home and women contribute in the factories, if I can put it like that. I see a future where we don't have discrimination as to what sort of roles women can take. I see a future where, young girls believe they can be anything that they choose to be. I can go on, but clearly the summary of the future I see is a future where we are all contributing equally.
Well, I see a future where there is active participation of women in every aspect of society, from making sure that we play the advisory role, we're actively involved in the policy making, in the decision making of every aspect of society that affects us.
I want to see a world that's inclusive. And it's not just at certain levels, it's not just about governance, it's about everything from sustenance to governance, having both gender involved in whatever it is society decides to do.
I want women to stop focusing on gender, and I want women to come to the table with character, capacity, and competence, and fight based on I am the right person to do this. I have the right set of skills to do this. And I can deliver on this. And everywhere we hear a woman's voice that says that, we must give her a chance.
I want a future where a female is free to express their potential. I want a future where a female is free to see and to achieve whatever they can see.
I want my country, when people say, where do you want to live? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? My own answer has always been, in this my country, okay, but I want it to be cleaner, more orderly, I want everything to work. And when I look around at the places that are cleaner, that are orderly, that are environmentally friendly, where everything is working, and I ask why, and they tell me, because women are present in every aspect of governance.
I think I want a future where there's social protection. There really isn't enough social protection, but there's now the issue of the disadvantages women have to face. So I want a future where access to opportunities, good health, infrastructure, social amenities is not on the basis of your gender.
So the future I want is a future where men and women are enabled to give their best, are enabled through platforms and programs like Wiscar provides, through mentorship, through role modeling, through education, are enabled to really actualize and fulfill their self-potential for the benefits of us all.
Nigeria is a country, they say, roughly of 200 million people. If the women are not allowed to play their part, then it means that Nigeria will be trying to run on one foot. Or perhaps I should say, Nigeria will be trying to take part in a boxing match in which it's deploying only one hand.
We are not where we should be as a nation. We cannot advance and take our rightful place as the giant of Africa and take our rightful place on the global stage if we do not address the issue of gender equality. It has been said, and it is a fact, that if we all focus on trying to address Goal 5, which is Goal 5 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is focused on gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. Do you know that all 17 SDGs would have been addressed? If there's no more poverty in our nation, will we all not be happy? It will get rid of all the insecurity. It will ensure that people's businesses can thrive. It will ensure that there's well-being. And, we will all be, it will almost be like heaven. And that's the future that I'm looking for. I don't think it's idealistic. I think it's attainable. And it's going to be attainable if men come to the party and if men, understand that gender equality is in their own enlightened self-interest and that they should actually be championing and advocating for it, as much as women do. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
What is the future I want? It's simple. Access to fair and equal chances.
As the next generation, I want a future where we can find excellence in our education system, most especially in disadvantaged schools.
The future I want for myself and other women around the world is one where working moms' guilt, stereotypes, inequality, and gender bias will be eliminated. I also want a future where a woman can rise, bear it all, and be the unique solution provider she's created to be.
I want a future where women can rise to their greatest potential, a world where there are more opportunities for women at the top, a world that realizes that there are no limits for women or to what they can achieve in the workplace and in the society.
Without opportunity, the dream of an egalitarian society is not going to be feasible. So I want a future filled with opportunities that will reach every woman at every corner of the world.
I want a future where a woman's value is not dependent on a gender. I want a future where women are given equal opportunities and equal support to thrive and succeed at the workplace.
Executing Wiscar programs has opened my eyes to the subtle ways in which we tolerate gender inequality, in the little things we're allowed to slide and then that we don't challenge. So I particularly like this year's campaign theme of the International Women's Day celebration. It says, I choose to challenge. It's reminding us that we need to challenge the big things and the small things that relate to gender inequality.
I, Bayo Yagbola, choose to challenge the negative beliefs and thoughts against women that seek to hold women back.
I, Amara Abim, choose to challenge on equal access to education. I believe that having a world where everybody have equal access to the same quality of education is the dream.
I, Fisayo Akisaya, choose to challenge gender norms and refuse to be limited by cultural biases.
I'm Folake Animomuni. I choose to challenge stereotypes.
I choose to challenge every form of violence against women and girls.
My name is Habiba Balogun, and I choose to challenge sexual harassment, unsafe schools, and unsafe workplaces. Everyone should feel safe where they live and where they work.
I, Oluwashemilore Atawologun, choose to challenge limiting cultural biases that suggest that a woman cannot successfully navigate work and family. A world where there is no form of violence against women.
I challenge the limit to access for leadership for women. We need more women. Nigeria especially, we need a lot more women in leadership.
My name is Amina Oyagbala. I am the founder and chairperson of Wiscar, Women in Successful Careers. I choose to challenge all forms of inequality and to call out all forms of discrimination. I would also choose to see more women in leadership and in decision making.
All my life, I chose to challenge the notion that says, as a woman, I can't, by saying, who says and why not? Who dares define all of me by my gender? Not possible.
My name is Fabio Gumekon. I'm the Executive Director of Wiscar, Women in Successful Careers. I choose to challenge patriarchy. I choose to challenge all forms of gender discrimination. And I make a pledge to work for inclusivity, parity, and equity across all spheres of life.